A for exposing my sister's wedding lie after my family cut me off for 10 years? I'm Vivian, Allison's younger sister, and for most of my adult life, I was the missing person in my own family's stories. Not dead. Not estranged in some dramatic way anyone could explain cleanly. Just absent. Cropped out of photos, left off holiday group texts. Mentioned only when someone new noticed the gap and asked, "Wait, doesn't Allison have a sister?" My parents always answered that question like they were stepping around broken glass. Oh, Vivian keeps to herself. She's always been independent. She doesn't really do family events. None of that was true at first. At first, I wanted in so badly it embarrassed me to remember it. I wanted the Christmas mornings, the birthday dinners, the matching family photos in front of a fireplace none of us were allowed to lean against because my mother said fingerprints ruined the brick. I wanted my dad to put a hand on my shoulder with the same easy pride he gave Allison. I wanted my mother to look at me before a family event and say, "You look beautiful," without adding, "But maybe try the other dress." Allison was 31, 3 years older than me, and she had always been the easy daughter. That was the phrase my mother used when she thought she was complimenting her. Allison is just easy. Easy to dress. Easy to photograph. Easy to brag about. Easy to love. I was the one who needed softening, fixing, coaching, redirecting. My hair was too flat or too messy. My clothes were too plain or too loud. My smile was too tense. My laugh was too sharp. I stood wrong in pictures. I looked uncomfortable at dinners. I did not have Allison's smooth way of walking into a room and becoming the point of it. Allison learned early that public sweetness covered private cruelty. Around guests, she would tilt her head and say, "Vivian, come stand with me." In the hallway 5 minutes later, she would pinch the fabric of my shirt between 2 fingers and say, "I'm just trying to help you not embarrass yourself." My parents called that sisterly concern. I called it practice. By high school, Allison had perfected it. She could make an insult sound like advice and make my reaction sound like the actual problem. If I got quiet, I was sulking. If I defended myself, I was making a scene. If I cried, I was too sensitive. My mother, Marilyn, lived by the rule that anything unpleasant could be polished into manners if you lowered your voice enough. My father, Robert, believed the person who caused embarrassment was worse than the person who caused pain. Aunt Brenda, my mother's sister, just liked a room that laughed with her. My high school graduation was the day all of that stopped being background noise and became the whole story. I remember that morning with a ridiculous amount of detail. The hanger scraping against my closet rod. The smell of my flat iron heating up. The cheap pair of black flats I had bought with money from babysitting because I wanted something that was mine. The dress was simple, dark blue, not flashy, not tight, not anything I thought could become a family debate. I came downstairs with my gown folded over my arm, feeling nervous but proud. My mother looked me up and down. "Oh," she said. Just that. One syllable. Like I had set a stain on the carpet. Allison was at the kitchen island, already made up, even though she wasn't the one graduating. She was stirring iced coffee with a straw, and wearing the kind of smile she used when she wanted witnesses. "That's the dress?" she asked. I looked down at myself. "Yes. It's fine," she said, which meant it wasn't. "It's just, you know. Photos last forever." My dad glanced over his newspaper and said, "Let's not start today." I thought he meant Allison. He meant me. At the ceremony, I tried to focus on the good parts. My name being called. The weight of the diploma cover in my hand. My friend squeezing my elbow and whispering, "You did it." For a few hours, I let myself believe the day might still belong to me. Then came the pictures. We were standing outside near a line of trees while parents gathered graduates into sweaty family poses. My mother kept adjusting everyone. Allison in the center. My parents beside her. Me on the edge. "Stand over there, honey," my mother said, pointing farther away from Allison. "The lighting is better." The lighting was not better. It was where a shadow from the building cut across my face. Aunt Brenda raised her camera and laughed. "Careful, Marilyn. The camera adds 10 pounds, but Vivian came prepared." It was not the worst thing anyone had ever said to me. It was just the one that landed in public while I was holding my diploma and trying not to fold in on myself. Allison covered her mouth like she was trying not to laugh. She didn't try very hard. I looked at my mother, waiting. She smiled tightly and said, "Brenda. Not don't say that. Not that's my daughter." Just her name like a napkin had fallen on the floor. The first picture was taken with me half in shadow. For the next one, Allison said, "Maybe one with just Mom, Dad, and me? I mean, since I'm not wearing the cap." I stared at her. She shrugged. "What? It'll be cute." My father said, "Vivian, don't make that face." So I stepped aside. That was the photo my mother posted that night. Allison between my parents, all three smiling. Caption: Proud Family Day. I was not in it. I checked later, refreshing the page like maybe the rest would appear. A group photo showed up next. My shoulder was visible on the left side, nothing else. Another one appeared the next morning. I had been cropped out cleanly, the line of the frame slicing right where my gown began. I sent my mother a text. "Why did you crop me out of my own graduation pictures?" She did not answer for 3 hours. Then Allison called. Not my mom. "Allison, you really couldn't let anyone have a nice day, could you?" she said. I was standing in my bedroom with my graduation cap on my dresser. It was my graduation. "And you made it weird," Allison said. "Mom is upset. Dad is mad. Aunt Brenda feels attacked because apparently no one can joke around you. She called me fat in front of everybody." Allison sighed like I was slow. "She didn't use that word. That doesn't make it better. You always do this," she said. "You wait until something good happens and then punish everyone because you don't feel pretty enough." I remember sitting down on the edge of my bed because my knees felt unsteady. "What is wrong with you?" My bedroom door opened without a knock. My father stood there with his phone in his hand, jaw tight. "Apologize to your mother," he said. I looked from him to my phone. Allison went quiet on the line listening. "For what? You embarrassed her in front of everyone." "I embarrassed her? You sent that message knowing she was proud of the photos." "I was cut out of them. You were sulking in every picture," he snapped. "Your mother was trying to post something nice without all that attitude." My mother appeared behind him, eyes shiny but not in a way that made me feel loved. "You need to learn when not to draw attention to yourself," she said. I laughed once. Came out ugly because I was trying not to cry. I was literally removed from the photo. Allison's voice came through my phone, soft and satisfied. "See? This is what I mean." Something in me changed that night, but not into strength. Not yet. First it changed into begging. I tried for months after that. I apologized in ways that still make my stomach hurt. I sent birthday messages. I offered to bring dessert for Thanksgiving. I asked if anyone wanted to get dinner. My mother responded with heart emojis and no plans. My dad said they were keeping things simple. Allison stopped answering unless she needed something. The invitations disappeared slowly enough that they could pretend nothing had happened. Thanksgiving moved to Aunt Brenda's house, and I found out from a cousin's post. Christmas Eve was too crowded this year. My father's birthday dinner became just a small thing, which somehow included 16 people. Allison's promotion party showed up online with a photo captioned, "Whole family together." I was not there. For a while I kept the old family group chat unmuted. That was a mistake. Most messages were normal. Recipes, photos, complaints about traffic. Then, once in a while, someone would forget I was still in it. "She's really wearing that?" Crop the left side before posting. "Vivian looks miserable as usual. Poor Allison having to stand next to that." One message from Aunt Brenda said, "We all had an awkward phase. Hers just had witnesses." Someone sent a laughing emoji. My mother sent, "Be nice," which was what she said when she wanted credit for goodness without requiring anyone to stop. I took screenshots. At the time I told myself it was so I would remember I wasn't crazy. Later I stopped needing reminders, but I never deleted them. 10 years is a long time to be outside a family without officially leaving it. I bought my own birthday cakes. Sometimes I bought the small ones from the grocery store bakery with too much frosting because those were the ones my mother used to call childish. I made plans with friends who did not ask me to shrink before loving me. I learned to spend holidays without checking my phone every 10 minutes. I stopped asking why the door was closed and started building a life that didn't depend on it opening. Then Allison's wedding invitation arrived. It came in a thick cream envelope with my name written in perfect silver calligraphy. Vivian. No nickname. No note. No apology. Just a response card, a dinner option, and a smaller insert with instructions for the rehearsal dinner. I held it over my kitchen trash can for almost a full minute. Then my phone buzzed. Allison, hey. I know things have been weird, but Nathan's family really values family, so please just be normal. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. A second message followed. Allison. Also please look normal for the pictures. Nothing dramatic. Normal. That word did more than the invitation. It told me exactly why I was being summoned. Nathan's family had started asking questions. I had met Nathan only once, years before he and Allison got together. We were younger, barely adults, at some community fundraiser my mother had dragged me to because Allison was volunteering and the family needed to show support. I had been standing near a folding table, trying to disappear while two girls from Allison's circle whispered about how I looked like the before picture in a makeover show. Nathan, who was helping carry boxes, had said, "That's a weird thing to say out loud." It was not a grand rescue. He did not embarrass them. He just named it. For me at that age, that was enough to remember. A few years after that, I heard through someone we both knew that Nathan's family had gone through a medical emergency. I remembered him being decent when he had no reason to be. So I wrote a short note, tucked in a gift card to a grocery store, and included a list of practical resources someone had once given me when I was overwhelmed. I signed it with just V. I didn't want attention. I didn't expect a response. I barely thought about it afterward except once when the mutual connection told me that note meant a lot to him. That was the whole story, or I thought it was. The day after the invitation arrived, my mother emailed me. Subject line: Allison's weekend. Vivian, your sister deserves peace on her wedding weekend. Nobody wants your version of old misunderstandings brought up. We are all adults now. Please come with a generous spirit. Nobody wants your version. Not the truth. Not your pain. Version. My father called that night. I let it go to voicemail. Then he called again. And again. On the fourth call I answered. What? I said. He paused, probably because I no longer sounded 18. Your sister deserves one perfect weekend, he said. She has had 10 perfect years without me in the pictures. Don't start. I didn't call you. This is private family business, he said. Nathan's people are traditional. They care about family. Allison is trying to include you, and you need to appreciate that. I almost laughed. She's trying to display me. She invited you. She told me to look normal. He exhaled hard. You always had to make things harder than they needed to be. There it was. The family motto, cleaned up just enough to wear a tie. After we hung up, I opened an old folder in my cloud storage. It was called Receipts, which sounded more dramatic than it was. Mostly it contained screenshots I had taken in pain and then forgotten to delete. Cropped photos. Group chat messages. Allison's old texts. A voicemail transcription from my mother after one Christmas where she said, "It's better if you don't come because everyone is still sensitive about your attitude." Everyone. Their sensitivity had always mattered more than my absence. I printed only what I needed. Not every insult. Not every old wound. I wasn't trying to build a museum of humiliation. I printed the cropped graduation photo. The group chat with dates visible. Allison's new text telling me not to bring up high school and to look normal. My mother's email. The voicemail transcript. I slid everything into a small envelope and put it in my purse. I didn't pack proof because I wanted a fight. I packed it because my family had always counted on me arriving unarmed. The rehearsal dinner was held in a private room at a restaurant with white tablecloths and candles that smelled faintly like vanilla. Everyone was too polished, too cheerful, too determined not to notice the way my mother's smile froze when I walked in. "Vivian," she said, arms opening. For a second my body remembered being younger and wanting that hug. Then she pressed her cheek to the air beside mine and whispered, "Just smile, honey." My father kissed the top of my head like he had done it every week for the last decade. "Good to see you." "Is it?" I asked. His hand tightened on my shoulder. "Not tonight." Allison crossed the room in a silky white rehearsal dress, glowing under soft lights. She looked beautiful. I can say that without bitterness. Allison had always been beautiful. The problem was that my family treated beauty like a moral achievement. "Viv," she said loudly so people turned. "You came." She hugged me with one arm and turned us slightly so the room could see. Her perfume was expensive and sharp. Into my ear she said, "Please don't make this weird. People here actually matter." I smiled because Nathan's mother was watching. "Then you should probably stop lying to them." Allison's fingers dug into my upper arm for half a second before she released me. Nathan came over with a warm, slightly confused smile. "Vivian, right? I'm glad you're here." "Congratulations," I said. He looked like he wanted to say more, but Allison slid between us with practiced ease. "Vivian's always been our quiet one." "Our quiet one." I looked at her over the rim of my water glass. That's one word for it. Dinner moved with the slow awkwardness of people performing closeness for an audience. My mother kept telling Nathan's relatives little stories about Allison as a child. Allison winning a school award. Allison decorating cupcakes. Allison comforting a friend. Allison. No one asked about me until Evelyn did. Evelyn was Nathan's mother, elegant in a simple navy dress, with eyes that missed very little. She sat across from me and said, "Marilyn mentioned 2 daughters. Have you always lived nearby?" My mother answered before I could. "Vivian has always been independent." Evelyn looked at me, not my mother. "That can be good. Or lonely." The table quieted for just a breath. "It can be both," I said. Allison laughed lightly. "Vivian likes her space." I looked at her. "I learned to." Nathan's eyes flicked between us. After dinner, there was a small gathering around the seating chart for the next day. I found my name at table 14, tucked between a college friend of Allison's and someone's divorced uncle. It was far from my parents, far from Allison's extended family, and definitely far from Nathan's parents. I didn't care about the table. I cared about the intention. A bridesmaid named Megan stood beside me, phone in one hand, wine glass in the other. I recognized her from Allison's photos but had never met her. "Oh, you're Vivian," she said, a little too brightly. "I am." She glanced down at her phone, then back at me. "You're at 14, right?" Allison said to make sure. She stopped. I looked at her screen before she could turn it away. It was a bridesmaid group chat. "Allison, put Vivian at table 14, not near Nathan's parents unless they ask." Another message from Allison. "Keep her for immediate family photos only. Don't let her get pulled into random family stuff." Megan's face drained. "Oh my God. I wasn't supposed to show you that." "No," I said. "I'm guessing you weren't." "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that." She lowered her voice. "She's just stressed." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Of course she is. Managing a fake family is a lot of work. Megan walked away quickly. I took out my phone and made a note of the wording while it was fresh. The next day, the wedding venue smelled like roses, hairspray, and expensive panic. I arrived early enough to avoid being accused of making an entrance and late enough that no one could assign me emotional labor. My mother found me near the lobby mirror. "Your necklace is twisted," she said. "It's fine. Hold still." She reached up and adjusted it anyway, fingers cool against my skin. Then she tugged my sleeve down like I was a child who had failed inspection. "You look tense," she said. "Try not to look like the graduation photos." There it was. 10 years later, still sitting loaded in her mouth. I looked at her reflection in the mirror. "You mean the ones you cropped?" Her face tightened. "This is not the night for your version." "No, Mom," I said. "Peace is not the same thing as silence." She blinked, as if the sentence had offended her more than the insult she had just made. Before she could answer, Allison swept in with her bouquet and a photographer behind her. "Vivian, come here. We need one with both sisters." "Need. Not want." I stepped beside her. Allison tilted her head toward mine and smiled beautifully. The photographer said, "Lovely. Can you two move a little closer?" Allison slid an arm around my waist. Her mouth barely moved when she whispered, "Just get through today." The flash popped. Nathan's mother watched from across the room. During the ceremony, I sat where the planner told me to sit. My mother cried when Allison walked down the aisle. My father looked proud enough to crack open. Aunt Brenda dabbed at her eyes with a tissue and whispered to someone that Allison had always been such a radiant girl. I watched all of it quietly. I had wondered before whether my mother had ever cried about losing me. Not losing me to death or distance, but to her own choices. Had she ever stood in the kitchen after not inviting me to Thanksgiving and felt the shape of the missing chair? Had my father ever seen a daughter in a grocery store and thought about the one he told to apologize for being humiliated? Maybe they had. But if they did, they never loved me enough to be embarrassed by themselves. The ceremony ended. People clapped. Allison and Nathan kissed. Music swelled in the practiced way wedding music does, telling everyone what emotion to have. At cocktail hour, Allison pulled me into 3 photos whenever Nathan's relatives were nearby. Immediate family, the photographer called. My father waved me in with 2 fingers. Come on. I stood at the edge again. The photographer lowered her camera. Can we get Vivian closer? Sister of the bride, right? Evelyn said politely. Yes, she should be in the middle for one. My mother's smile flickered. Allison's did not. She was too good. Of course, Allison said. Come here, Viv. She put me between herself and my mother. For a few seconds I stood in the center of a family photo for the first time in 10 years, and all I could think was that strangers had to request it. At the reception, the ballroom was warm and gold-lit. Champagne glasses clinked. The DJ played soft music while guests found their tables. I walked past table 14 without sitting down and drifted toward the displays near the entrance. There was a family memories table. That was the label. Family memories through the years. Photos were arranged in little gold frames. Allison as a baby. Allison in a dance costume. Allison at prom. Allison on vacations. Allison with my parents at dinners. Allison with Aunt Brenda. Allison with cousins. There were a few pictures where I should have been. In one, my arm was visible around the edge of a Christmas tree photo. In another, a sliver of my graduation gown appeared beside my father's sleeve. The graduation picture was there too, the same one my mother had posted years ago. Allison between my parents. Proud family day. Know me. I stood there long enough for the anger to go cold. Funny how memory always knew where to cut. Nathan appeared beside me holding 2 glasses of water. Hey, you okay? I didn't answer right away. He followed my gaze to the table. His brow creased. Why aren't you in more of these? That would be a good question for your wife. He winced slightly at the word wife like it was still new and fragile. Allison told me you chose to leave. I looked at him. He seemed genuinely unsure, not smug. That mattered. Ask her why I wasn't in a single family photo for 10 years, I said. He opened his mouth, closed it, and looked back at the table. Before he could say anything else, Allison appeared. There you are, she said to Nathan. People are looking for you. Nathan didn't move. Why isn't Vivian in these? Allison glanced at the display and smiled like he had asked why the napkins were folded that way. Oh, she hated pictures back then. You know how teenagers are. I graduated in one of those pictures, I said. Allison's eyes sharpened. Vivian. Nathan looked at me. That was your graduation? My mother appeared at Allison's shoulder, because she had radar for danger. Dinner is about to start. Nathan still looked unsettled. I didn't realize. Allison linked her arm through his. Honey, we can talk later. Don't get pulled into old drama. Old drama. That was what people called pain when they wanted it expired. I let them go because I had promised myself one thing before I walked into that wedding. I would not interrupt the ceremony. I would not shout. I would not ruin anything just because old hurt had hands around my throat. If they let me sit at table 14 and go home, I would go home. Then I saw the love story table. It was on the other side of the ballroom, near the guest book. Framed photos of Allison and Nathan were arranged in a timeline. First date. First trip. First apartment. Proposal. Little cards explained each moment in neat cursive. And in the center was a framed handwritten note. My feet stopped before my mind caught up. The paper was cream-colored, slightly folded at the corner. The writing was familiar in the way your own face is familiar in a dark window. The slant of the V, the way the lowercase y dipped too low, the uneven spacing when I wrote too fast. Nathan came up beside me again, still looking distracted from the photo table conversation. Then he saw what I was staring at and smiled softly. "That note," he said. "That's one of the reasons I knew Allison had a good heart." My pulse moved into my ears. He continued, not noticing my face. "It was years ago. My family was dealing with a medical thing and I was a wreck. Allison sent this with a grocery card and some resources. She never made a big deal of it. Just did it quietly." I heard myself ask, "Where did you get this?" He looked confused. "Allison gave it to me." "Well, she said she'd been embarrassed to admit it was her at first. She said she signed it with a V because she didn't want attention." He laughed a little. "I always thought that was sweet." I leaned closer to the glass. The note said, "I don't know if this helps, but when everything gets loud, groceries and phone numbers are sometimes more useful than speeches. You were kind to me once when you didn't have to be." I remembered. "I hope things get easier. V." My hands went cold. I remembered writing it at my tiny kitchen table with a pen that kept skipping. I remembered hesitating over whether to sign Vivian, then deciding not to. I remembered buying the gift card and feeling awkward because kindness from far away can feel like intruding if you do it wrong. I remembered thinking Allison would never know. But Allison had known. Or found out later. Or seen it. Or been told. However it happened, she had taken it and folded it into herself until Nathan believed her compassion had my handwriting. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the framed note. Nathan looked at me. "Vivian. That's not Allison's handwriting," I said. His smile faded. "What?" Before I could answer, Allison called his name from across the room. I stepped away. Not fast. Not dramatic. I walked to a quiet corner near the coat room where the music was muffled and opened my old cloud folder with fingers that did not quite feel like mine. I searched Nathan's note. There it was. A photo I had taken before mailing it because I had included resource phone numbers and wanted a copy in case the mutual contact asked for them again. The timestamp was from years earlier. The same note, same fold, same words, same handwriting. A second photo showed the gift card receipt on the table beside the envelope. I didn't need a dramatic sign from the universe. I had a timestamp. For 1 minute I just stood there breathing. The graduation photos had hurt. The missing invitations had hurt. The messages had hurt. But this was different. Allison had not only erased me, she had used the kindest piece of me as decoration for her love story. When I returned to the ballroom, Evelyn was speaking to Nathan near the head table. Allison stood beside him, her smile tight. My mother hovered close. I caught part of Evelyn's sentence. "I only wondered because family seems so important to you, and yet your sister is missing from almost every story." Allison laughed too loudly. "Oh, Vivian and I just drifted apart. Sisters, you know." Evelyn's expression stayed polite. "Not really. I have sons." Nathan looked at me as I approached. There was something in his face now. Not belief yet. Suspicion. Allison saw it and panicked in the quiet way people panic when they cannot afford to look panicked. "Vivian," she said brightly. Perfect timing. My mother's eyes darted to me. Allison took a microphone from the DJ's stand. "We were just saying it might be sweet if you gave a little toast. Nothing formal. Just a sister moment." The DJ, who clearly had not planned this, lowered the music. Guests turned. My stomach dropped but my mind went very still. Allison walked toward me with the microphone. Her smile was wide, her eyes flat. "Just say families drift apart and come back together," she whispered. "Keep it sweet. Nobody needs your whole trauma speech." My mother moved close enough that I smelled her perfume. "Do this for once," she whispered. "If you want to be included, act grateful." My father, seated near the head table, gave me the look he used when I was younger. The one that meant sit down, shut up, obey. Allison placed the microphone in my hand. That was their mistake. For 10 years my silence had been useful to them. They mistook usefulness for ownership. I looked at Nathan, then Evelyn, then the family photo table, then the love story table with my note behind glass. I raised the microphone. Hi, I said. The room quieted with that warm, expectant hush people give wedding speeches before they know they are about to hear something else. I'm Vivian, Allison's younger sister. A few people smiled politely. Allison asked me to stand here tonight and say that families can drift apart and still come home. Allison's smile relaxed by a fraction. I looked at her. But families don't accidentally erase one daughter for 10 years. The silence changed shape. Someone near the back laughed once, uncertain, then stopped. My mother whispered, Vivian. I kept my voice even. You don't get to erase me for 10 years and then borrow me for wedding photos. Allison's face went pale under her makeup. Vivian, don't. My father pushed his chair back. That's enough. No, I said, still into the microphone. It isn't. The photographer stood near the wall with her camera half raised, frozen between instinct and professionalism. The DJ stared at his laptop like he wished it would swallow him. Guests pretended not to listen while leaning slightly closer. I continued. I was not invited tonight because anyone missed me. I was invited because Nathan's family started asking why the bride's sister didn't exist. A murmur moved through the room. Allison made a soft, wounded sound. You're doing this because you're jealous. I almost smiled. It was such an old line. So familiar it had lost its teeth. I'm not asking anyone to trust my feelings, I said. I brought your words. I set the microphone down on the nearest table, reached into my purse and took out the envelope. My mother grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, just hard enough to warn. Don't you dare, she whispered. I looked down at her hand until she let go. No, Mom, I said quietly. Nobody wants your version tonight. Her face changed. For the first time all weekend she looked genuinely afraid. I walked to Nathan and handed him the envelope. I'm sorry, I said. You should have been told before today. I wasn't going to say anything unless they asked me to lie in front of you. Nathan took it slowly. Allison reached for his arm. Nathan, don't. She's been unstable about this forever. Evelyn stepped closer. Let him read. Nathan opened the envelope. He did not shout. He did not throw anything. He read like a person trying to keep his face from breaking in public. First, Allison's text. Please look normal for the pictures. Do not bring up high school. Nathan's family is very traditional. They care about family stuff. Just smile and don't make me regret inviting you. Then my mother's email. Nobody wants your version of old misunderstandings. Then the cropped graduation photo, printed glossy. Allison centered. My parents proud. My absence clean as a cut. Then the group chat. She's really wearing that? Crop the left side before posting. Vivian looks miserable as usual. Poor Allison having to stand next to that. Aunt Brenda made a small choking sound from somewhere behind me. Nathan kept reading. My father came up beside us. This is private family business. I looked at him. You made it public when you used me as proof. He pointed a finger at me. You had to do this today? No, I said. You chose today when you handed me a microphone and asked me to lie. Nathan pulled out the final sheets. The photo of the framed note from the love story table. The old photo from my cloud folder with the timestamp. The gift card receipt beside the envelope. A printed zoom of my handwriting. His face went still. Evelyn looked over his shoulder. Allison whispered, That doesn't prove anything. Nathan turned to her. Did you write the note? Her mouth opened. No answer came. Allison, he said, did you write it? She started crying then. Softly, beautifully, the way she had always cried when crying would do more than words. I can't believe you're letting her do this to me, she said. Nathan's voice dropped. That's not what I asked. My mother stepped in. This is cruel. Vivian has always struggled with feeling included. She twists things. Evelyn looked at my mother. The handwriting is hers. My mother's mouth tightened. It was a long time ago. Evelyn's tone stayed calm, but something in it hardened. That does not answer the question. Nathan looked at Allison again. You told me your sister abandoned the family because she was jealous of you. Allison wiped under one eye carefully, preserving her makeup. She did leave, I said, after you all pushed me out. My father snapped. You were not pushed out. You made every gathering miserable. For who? I asked. The people who had to see the person they mocked? Aunt Brenda appeared at the edge of the group, face flushed. Come on, Vivian. Nobody thought you'd actually hold on to that. It was a joke. I turned to her. You laughed when it was easier. She looked away. Nathan held up the note proof. Why did you let me believe this was from you? Allison's crying turned sharper. Because I knew you'd make it weird if you knew it was her. The sentence landed badly. Even some of her bridesmaids looked at each other. Nathan stared at her. Make what weird? Allison looked trapped now, and trapped Allison was less polished. I didn't think it mattered. It was just a note. It mattered to me, he said. I was there for you in other ways. Then why did you need to take this? She had no good answer. The room knew it. Worse for Allison, Nathan knew it. Evelyn touched her son's arm. Maybe you and Allison need a private conversation. Allison looked around, suddenly aware of the audience she had built her whole life to impress. Can we not do this here? I almost laughed, but I didn't. My father turned on me again because I was the safest target. You made your point. Now sit down. I'm leaving. Of course you are, Allison snapped through tears. That's what you do. You ruin things and leave. I picked up the microphone again because if she wanted one final sentence, I would give her one. I didn't ruin your perfect family story, I said. I corrected the caption. Then I set the microphone down and walked toward the photographer. She looked startled when I approached. Hi. I'm sorry. I don't know what. I know you're just working, I said. But I do not consent to my image being used in any post, album caption, or family reunited narrative. I'll put it in writing if you need. She nodded quickly. Understood. My mother had followed me. Vivian, stop. You are being vindictive. I turned around. No. I'm being specific. You're punishing your sister. I'm refusing to be used by her. After we included you? I stared at her. You seated me across the room and told people to keep me away from Nathan's mother unless she asked. Her face went blank. I said, Megan showed me the chat. For once, my mother had no soft, polite sentence ready. Near the head table, Nathan had stepped away from Allison. Not far. Just enough that everyone saw the space. Evelyn stood beside him, speaking quietly. Allison was crying with her bouquet clutched in both hands, while my father hovered like anger could still organize the room back into obedience. The planned family photo never happened. The cake was still cut. Dinner was still served. Weddings are expensive machines. They keep moving even when the people inside them are falling apart. But the tone was gone. The bright, glossy mood Allison had curated was cracked all the way through. Guests spoke in low voices. Her bridesmaids stopped laughing loudly. Nathan did not make a speech about Allison's good heart. When the DJ tried to restart the music, it sounded too cheerful and he lowered it after half a song. I left before dessert. In the hallway outside the ballroom, Aunt Brenda caught up with me. Vivian, she said. I stopped not because I owed her anything but because I wanted to know what weak apology sounded like after 10 years. She twisted her clutch in both hands. Back then we all said things. You said things. They laughed. Mom translated it into manners. She swallowed. I didn't think you'd take it so personally. It was personal. I was joking. You were safe, I said. There's a difference. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not sorry enough to matter. Just uncomfortable now that the room had stopped supporting her. I walked away. Outside, the night air felt cooler than it should have. I sat in my car for a while with my hands on the steering wheel, listening to the muffled bass from the reception behind the building. I expected to cry. I didn't. Mostly I felt tired. Cleanly tired. Like after carrying something heavy for so long that putting it down hurt your arms. My phone began buzzing before I made it out of the parking lot. Allison. You could have just moved on. Allison. You humiliated me because you're jealous. Allison. You ruined the one day that was supposed to be mine. My mother left 3 voicemails. The first was breathless and angry. How could you do that to your sister? In front of everyone? Your father is furious. Nathan's mother is asking questions. I hope you're happy. The second was quieter. Vivian, call me. We need to control this before people start posting. The third came after midnight. You don't understand what you've done to this family. That one almost made me respond. Instead, I texted Allison. I did move on. That's why I won't let you use me anymore. Then another. You wanted a sister for the photos, not the truth. Then one last message, because clarity is a kindness even when people do not deserve it. Do not post my face. Do not use my name. Do not contact me again. I blocked her. Then I blocked my parents. Then I opened the old family group chat. Messages were already piling up. A cousin. What happened tonight? Aunt Brenda. Vivian brought up ancient drama at the reception. My father. Nobody engaged with her. Megan, somehow still in the wrong chat or too rattled to care, wrote. She had screenshots. No one responded to that for 3 full minutes. Then my mother. This is not the place. I almost admired the consistency. I saved one final screenshot and left the chat. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Nathan. I stared at his name for a long time before opening it. It was short. Vivian, I'm sorry. I believed what I was told. I also owe you a thank you for the note years ago. It helped more than you probably knew. I'm not asking for anything from you. I just wanted you to know Allison and I are having a serious conversation about all of this, and the note will not be part of our wedding story anymore. I read it twice. Then I replied, you don't owe me anything. I'm sorry you found out that way. I hope you get the truth. I did not ask whether he would stay married to her. That was not mine to manage. I knew people expected a cleaner ending, some dramatic cancellation, a groom running into the night, guests applauding the wronged sister. Real life is usually quieter and more uncomfortable than that. From what I heard later through one cousin I still trusted, Nathan did not leave Allison at the reception. He did not make a scene. But he did leave with his parents instead of staying until the send-off. The honeymoon was postponed. Evelyn returned the framed note to Nathan and told Allison, in front of my parents, that compassion did not count if you stole it from someone else. Nathan told Allison, I can forgive complicated. I can't build a marriage on stolen stories. That line got repeated to me by my cousin with the kind of careful tone people use when they know gossip is also grief. Allison changed her wedding post 3 times. The first version said, family, love, and forever. My face was in the third photo. I reported it and sent a written message to the photographer, who responded within an hour and said she had already advised Allison not to use images of me without permission. The post came down. The second version cropped me out. That one almost made me laugh. The third version had only photos of Allison and Nathan. No family caption, no love story table, no framed note. Perfect but smaller. My parents did not apologize. My father sent one email from an address I had not blocked yet. You embarrassed your mother publicly. Whatever happened years ago did not justify cruelty. I answered with one sentence. Cruelty was asking me to smile beside the people who erased me and calling it peace. He did not respond. My mother mailed me a card 2 weeks later. No return address, but I knew her handwriting. Inside she had written, I hope someday you understand that weddings are stressful and people say things they don't mean. There was no I'm sorry. No, I should have protected you. No, you deserved better. Just a soft blanket thrown over a decade of choices. I threw the card away. Not angrily. Not in some cinematic moment. I read it once, stood in my kitchen, and dropped it into the trash under a coffee filter. That felt better than rage. A few relatives sent messages that sounded like apologies if you tilted your head. I had no idea it was that bad. I'm sorry you felt excluded. Brenda shouldn't have joked like that, but you know how she is. You looked good at the wedding, by the way. That last one told me they still did not understand. My worth had never been waiting for their approval to catch up. For years, I thought the worst thing my family did was make me feel like the ugly daughter. But after Allison's wedding, I understood it more clearly. They needed someone to hold the shame so the rest of them could look clean. They needed Allison to be beautiful, my mother to be tasteful, my father to be respected, Aunt Brenda to be funny. And they needed me to agree that being hurt made me the problem. I don't agree anymore. I kept one copy of the envelope. Not because I plan to use it again. Because there is a difference between living in the past and refusing to let liars own it. The original note is not mine now. It belongs to Nathan because it helped him when he needed help. But the story attached to it belongs to me too. A month after the wedding, I bought myself a birthday cake even though it wasn't my birthday. Chocolate, too much frosting, the kind my mother would have called childish. I put it on a plate, muted my phone, and ate a slice standing in my kitchen. There was no family group chat buzzing. No one telling me to smile properly. No one adjusting my sleeve. No one deciding where I belonged in a picture. For the first time in years, silence did not feel like exclusion. Felt like space. I wasn't the ugly daughter anymore. I was the inconvenient truth. And for the first time, I was fine with that. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.